Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Colleen with BeYou-T-Fit, and this week we're going to be talking about tracking your knees when you're squatting. So this month we've been doing the BeYou-T-Fit Legs Challenge, and one of the things that we've been doing is working on squats and a couple different types of squats. When you're doing a squat, a lot of times you'll notice that your knees might go out a little bit or turn in a little bit, even if your toes are facing straight. So we're going to work on fixing this. So I'm going to use two different props. I'm going to use a block and a strap. If you have any kind of bands at home or anything that you could, a pillow, anything you can stick between your legs, that would work as well. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at your squat. You want to be able to see whether your knees are turning out or in. And most everyone's going to have this happen at least at one point, especially once you start adding weight. So go ahead and get in a squat position with your feet just a little bit wider than hip width apart. And just do a couple air squats, looking down at your knees and noticing whether they're going to turn in or out. So go ahead and do a couple squats, just looking down at your knees. What you'll notice is that if your knees are turning in, it'll look kind of like this. And if your knees are turning out, your knees will do this. Okay? So you kind of want to notice that, and you want to look for your knees going directly over your feet, or if they're going a little bit wider or a little bit more narrow. So there's a couple different reasons that your knees will turn in or out, but most of the time it has to do with a muscle weakness, whether it's on the interior of the thigh or the exterior of the thigh. So we're going to focus first on if your knees tend to turn in. So if your knees tend to turn in, it means you've got to focus on pulling your knees out a little bit. So with my strap, or if you have a band, you're welcome to use a band. If you've got a band, just go ahead and place it right around the top part of your knee, right above where your knee is. If you have a band, go ahead and do that. If you've got a strap, set it up into a nice loop, something you can easily loosen if you need to, or tighten if you need to, okay? And you're going to tighten it up so that it's about the width of your hips, okay? Go ahead and get it up around your knees, and tighten it to wherever it is parallel to where your feet are. So you want it to be directly straight up. Got all this extra strap here. I'll just wrap it up a couple times. This is a long strap. All right. So once you've got that, you're going to start pressing your knees into the strap a little bit and creating a little bit of tension. Already you should start to feel it on the outside of your legs just a little bit. Then, as you squat, press your knees out and into the strap, going straight down and straight back up. Make sure you do these nice and slow, because these aren't for speed or the number of reps. This is really a drill. This is a skill that you need to master. And when you're doing drills or you're trying to perfect something, you're going to go slow. So nice and slow, pressing the knees out, really starting to create tension in that band or that strap. Coming down and back up again. And as you do these, you should really start to feel it up in your glutes. For those of you who are really looking to get a glute workout, doing squats with this kind of strap or band around your knees is really going to isolate the glutes and give you a great glute workout. The next one we're going to focus on is if your knees tend to turn outwards. If your knees tend to turn outwards, then it means you got to get them closer together, or get them with the feeling of needing to press in. So we use a block, or your pillow, or whatever you've got to stick between your legs. So go ahead and take your feet, same distance apart for a regular squat, and then go ahead and place the block. All right? So I'm going to take it as wide as I can go right now, because that's where my hips align. All right? Starting with the block right there, pressing your knees together, feel like you're going to squish that block together. You're going to start to feel it firing up on the inside of your leg now, the inner thigh. And again, squat down, keeping that block there, and then coming back up again. Squatting down, and coming back up again. Remember, once again, these are not to be done quickly. They're not for time. They're not for the amount of reps you get. It's just to be able to get you with the feeling of how to press the knees in or out. You can also use this if you're trying to perfect a chair pose. For those of you who do yoga, chair pose is a lot like a squat. You're sending the hips back, you're keeping the knees over the toes, you're just coming into chair. Same thing. In your chair though, the same thing. You want your knees to track over your feet. So with the chair pose, I normally take the block in a thinner length, because you don't want your feet as wide in chair pose. Your feet aren't going to go as wide as a little bit wider than your hips. Your feet are actually going to stay directly in line with your hips and sometimes even touching. So placing the block between your hips, squeezing your knees together. Go ahead and come down, chair pose, squeezing the knees together, keeping that block right where it is, and then let yourself come back up. Alternatively, a fun little trick you can do is just taking a quarter or nickel, dime, penny, whatever you've got, and sticking that right between your knees. That's really going to force you to keep your knees all the way together. All right? So this is for those of you who are doing chair pose specifically and you're trying to keep your legs touching, everything turning inward, everything rotating inward. Keeping that quarter between your legs, go ahead and squat down, chair pose, and let yourself come back up. So that's the last little thing you can do using a penny or quarter, nickel, whatever you've got going on. So these are things that you really want to take note to now before you start adding weight or trying to do a heavy squat, because once you start adding weight or once you start doing heavier squats, your knees are actually going to over-exaggerate that. So even if you're just doing an air squat and you notice a slight little bit of exterior rotation where your knees start to go out a little bit, once you add weight, your knees are going to go all the way out. And it's going to actually stretch out all the tendons and the ligaments in your knee. It's going to ruin your knees really early on, and it's going to stop you from being able to lift as much as you want or be able to do as many reps as you want. So really want to take note to this and really want to pay attention to it and take care of your knees. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again next week.